pokery here. And there we have two applications side by side. And again, we'll be looking at why you may want to have two applications on screen together, side by side, later on in the video.
Okay, and to close these applications?
To close the applications.
Close the video. You're not done yet.
Several ways again. We could go to the control menu and choose close.
Right.
We could go to the file menu here in right. Let's just show a different way.
Yep.
And choose exit.
Right.
And then we might want to just maximise Program Manager again.
So you've got a number of ways of doing things, haven't you?
Yes. Oh, yeah, many different ways. And as you said earlier, it really is a case of horses for courses. Whatever you feel comfortable with. If you're a person who can remember lots of keystrokes, then you'll probably use the keyboard. Personally, I tend to use the mouse quite a lot because I don't have a very good memory for keystrokes.
Sure.
So.
And I guess for new players to Windows, it is confusing with all these windows that can open on top of each other.
Yeah, but that's where I think it's important to learn those basics, to understand the fact that if an application is open or you have several applications open, the one with the blue title bar is your active application.
Yep.
Remember that an application could be behind the Program Manager.
Yep.
Remember that minimise on use tip. Very, very useful for everybody within the Windows environment. And then you really are on the sort of road towards working within Windows.
Okay. Well, hopefully there's nobody there sitting there ready to jump off the 10th floor.
No.
If you find that a little confusing, just use the rewind button. Go back and watch it a few times, because we did cover a lot of ground there, didn't we?
We did, but once you've got these under your belt, Steve, you really are, you're virtually there.
Yeah, and if they still can't master it, I'll give you your phone number at the end of the video.
Right, yes.
Okay, we'll move on now and have a look at the next chapter.
Okay.
Right, well, not that we need to do it, but we're going to look at the different ways of getting help in Windows.
Yes.
We've got you today, so...
yeah, but I'm not available to everybody.
Oh, aren't you?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, so what sort of things are we going to consider?
We're going to look at using help from a help menu. Whether you're working within Windows itself or within one of the applications, such as Paintbrush or right within Windows. We're going to look at accessing help via the keyboard, via the mouse.
I think help has a bit of a, bad connotation for some people. I think they shy away from it because they think, well, I don't need to use that.
Yeah, it's bit of a sort of
stuff,
macho thing associated with going to get help.
What do you think? Is it something we all could use?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, I've been using Windows for a number of years myself, but I still find myself learning and picking up little tips and tricks from things like help menus. You can never, ever know everything, and there's nothing to worry about using help, for goodness sake.
There's so much to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you can't, one person can't know it all.
You can't possibly know everything about...
Are we putting their mind at rest, do you think?
I hope so. I hope so.
Let's go and have a look at the different topics now.
Yeah, OK. Well, within the Program Manager, you can see we have the accessories group icon open. That's fine. The very last menu here is help.
Right.
And that's probably the first place that most people would think to go to. We have several options here. We have contents, which we'll look at in a second. Search for help on a particular topic.
Yes.
It's interesting here. We also have help on how to use help.
Right.
So just in case you actually don't fully understand the Windows environment and how the help systems work within Windows, then that's very useful.
Okay.
And there's a tutorial as well, which we'll look at later on within this particular chapter.
We've already seen a lot of consistencies with Windows so far, the way program windows work and so forth.
Yeah.
Is help going to be the same between applications?
It is. Absolutely identical. Whether you're using an application here shipped with Windows or whether you're using a Windows application such as Word or Excel or a non-Microsoft application, generally speaking, the help menu will be on the far right-hand side of the screen and the conventions are the same.
Okay.
So let's perhaps go to the contents.
So you just click on Contents.
Just clicked on Contents, and you can see that help is now appearing in its own window.
Yes, in fact, we can see half of the screen taken up with it.
So we may want to maximise that just to sort of allay any confusion there. And let's focus on the help. Now, again, a series of menus which we could execute using the mouse. Or notice we still have the letter underlined. We could use the keyboard to execute those menus as well.
What's this green text we can see down the bottom?
This is called hypertext.
Little pointy little rude finger.
Not a rude finger at all.
I'm sorry.
As I drag my mouse over that hypertext, it changes from a pointer to a finger. And that is just indicating me that if I select that particular option, it's going to jump me into a subsequent window about that particular piece of information. So let's go in and have a look at arranging windows and icons.
You just clicked on that.
I just clicked on that, yes. Now, you can see this is the topic, the chapter for arranging windows and icons, something that we covered in the earlier chapter. Now, we also have within this chapter some more green text.
This is dotted, though, this time.
This is dotted. Now, this is known as a glossary within Windows. And if I click on there, you can see it gives me a description there of a title bar.
I see.
Because within Windows there are lots of words and descriptions that somebody may not be familiar with, so that just tells you, if you weren't too sure, exactly what a title bar is.
Yep.
And then to get rid of that, we just select outside of that particular dialogue, and we're back to where we were before.
You've got some grey buttons running along the top there. What do they do?
Okay, well, contents is really where we were just now. We might want to search for a help topic, and we'll click on search, and we'll look at this in a little bit more detail later on. But basically, you can see we have a number of search items there that we could go in and search by later. So we'll cancel out of that, yes.
Yep.
Back, this is quite a useful thing here. It remembers the windows that you had open. So if we wanted to go back to the previous window, then that takes me back to the first screen where we were just a second ago.
Which is the contents.
Yeah. That's right.
And now that button is greyed out.
And now it's greyed out because we don't have any more stages to go back to. So let's perhaps go back into arranging windows and icons. History is another way of retracing your steps, if you like. If I select that, you can see again it's actually listing here the various help topics that we have been into so far. So if you wanted to go to arranging windows and icons, you could select that one, or perhaps contents for Program Manager help. Just double-click on there.
Aha. So that's another quick way of getting back there.
Yeah. And then finally, glossary. We mentioned glossaries earlier. This actually gives you a list now of all of the glossaries that you'll see within the Windows Help engine. So we might want to perhaps have a look at an application or a title separately outside of the help itself.
So you're just clicking again on this text?
Yes. Yeah. And again, that's in its own window, so we can now choose.
And you've got a little scroll bar there.
We've got scroll bars. There's lots of information in there. It's alphabetical, so you can imagine.
So if you hear one of these words mentioned, you may just want to go and get a quick refresher on that.
Yeah, that's a good use of it. So let's just close that down using the control menu there.
Okay. So every window has this little control menu, doesn't it?
Yes,
Quite a handy little thing.
And that will always be there for every single window, because there are some applications, we'll find those later, that don't have a file menu to allow you to exit, but the control menu is something that you'll see in every application.
How do you exit out of help when you're finished with it?
Well, again, a couple of ways. We could use the control menu here and choose close. We could use the file menu and choose exit.
Okay. And there we are.
There we are.
So you got there by going to the help menu and choosing contents. Is there any keystrokes for our keystroke friends?
Yes, there are. You'll be pleased to hear. If we choose the F1 key on the keyboard... F1, that takes you directly into the help engine. And again, if you're using any Windows applications, F1 is still a key that can be used to take you directly into the help engine. We now want to look at the menus here, Steve, and see what these various different options mean. Let's first of all go into arranging windows and icons. Now, if we go to the File menu first of all, we can open up a particular help topic. We could print a help topic, which is very useful.
So we could print the one we're looking at now?
Yeah, and build up your own...
That's useful.
Own manual, really.
Good if you lose the manual, isn't it? Well, people don't read the manuals, that's why they buy Softvision.
That's right, that's right, Steve. And then you could also choose to set up your printer here, obviously. The Edit menu, we can copy information. So I've selected copy there, and now I can go in and using the mouse...
Oh, you're just clicking and dragging.
I'm just clicking and dragging, and I may want to copy this information perhaps into a word processing document, or if I'm writing training notes, I may want to insert this information into training notes or something like that. So
and you've got a copy button there.
Yeah, we'd just select copy, and then we would paste it into an application, which we'll look at later.
Oh, good.
So let's cancel from there.
Now we're coming back to working with data later on in the video, aren't we?
Yes. Here we have Annotate. So let's select Annotate. We're currently sitting within Arranging Windows and Icons. And you can see here that Annotate is within its own window. And we can pick it up and move it around. Now, we may want to actually add a note against this particular help topic. So, as an example here, let's pretend that we're working within a corporate environment. It could be that you have customised the help system somewhat, or the desktop. And we may want to say something like, we have a company standard for our icons on the desktop. Ring Jackie on 3743 if you have any questions.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is great for help desk people, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So if we save that now, notice that next to my title there, we have a paperclip.
This one over on the edge?
That's right, yep. And my mouse changes automatically. That's telling me there's an annotation. If I select that using the mouse, it takes me in to the annotation message that we just typed in there.
Okay. So if people want to get further information, they just click on the little paperclip.
Yeah, that's right. So there's just one example, perhaps, of how that facility might be used. Now, we also have a bookmark menu here. And think of this, if you're reading a book at home, a novel of some sort, it's unlikely you'd start on one day and finish on the same day. You'd come back to it, so you would insert something to remind you where to go to.
Sure.
And the same sort of rules apply here, if you like. We may want to be able to jump to this particular chapter quickly. So if we now go into the Define option, clicking with the mouse there, I could leave that as my bookmark name, or I might want to put a more meaningful name into there, something like Jackie's, what should we put here? Chapter.
Right.
Okay. ...
Yep.
And select OK. Now if I go to the bookmark menu, you can see that that's been added. So if we were elsewhere within Windows and then we needed to jump to this chapter instantly, I could just go to the bookmark menu, select this option here.
Can we test that to see if not that I don't trust you or anything?
No, I'm sure that...
I'd like to see that working.
OK, well, let's go into the search engine at this point, shall we?
Yes.
And just show people how to use that.
So why would you use search as opposed to other things?
If you wanted to search for a topic by its name, then you could go to that particular topic instantly. So let's say that we want to look for something that begins with P.
Yep.
Okay, if I type in the letter P, it jumps me immediately to the section of help information that begins with the letter P.
Yes.
So now we could use the mouse here to actually just move through that list, if we wanted to. Okay, so that's one reason why you would go to the search engine here. Let's perhaps go back.
And you're just highlighting that text?
I'm just highlighting that using the mouse. Let's type in the letter A, because we actually want to go into this section here, Arranging Windows. Okay, and a couple of ways that we can now get there. If I use the mouse, I could double click on that topic. And notice down here, it now shows me all of the topics associated with Arranging Windows. Now, in this case, there's only one, but often you will find several different topics there, and then you can choose to go to whichever one of those topics you want to use. So if I want to go to that particular topic, I can double-click using the mouse, or we can select Go To.
Okay.
So let's choose Go To. And there you can see we're back into our Arranging Windows with the annotation.
Right.
Now, let's perhaps go back into the search menu and just illustrate. Let's go back to the P section, shall we?
Yep.
And we'll just say, that's fine. Here again, one item. But let's pretend that we now want to jump back to that first chapter where we added the annotation or the bookmark. OK? Go to the bookmark menu.
And there you are.
And there we are. So I can just click on that and it takes me straight back to there.
OK. That's quite useful. If you go to a particular help topic regularly, you may want to create a little bookmark.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It's very useful indeed, actually. Very useful.
Fine. And now, how do we come back out of help again?
OK. Let's go to the control menu this time, shall we? And close it down.
So we've seen two ways of getting help. We go either to the help menu and click on Contents, or press F1.
F1. Yeah. Now, let's perhaps open up an application and see what that help engine would look like from within an application. And we're going to now open up Notepad with an accessories.
What's Notepad?
It's a very basic text editor. So let's maximise Notepad, and let's pretend that we want to get some help on using Notepad. Again, we can go to the help menu here.
So as you said, the help is always at the far right.
Yes, yes. Or let's just choose the F1 key, shall we?
Yep.
F1, and here we have Notepad help.
Okay.
So once you're inside of an application,
Yep.
the help will relate directly to the name of the application that you're sitting within. And clearly within Notepad there are different topics to the ones that we've been looking at so far within Windows.
Fine, so it's relatively context sensitive.
Very context sensitive, I would say, in fact. One final thing to look at here in terms of getting help within Windows and for people new to the environment, there is a tutorial. Let's just maximise Program Manager there. Go to the Help menu, and here you can see Windows Tutorial. So let's just take a little look at what the tutorial will take us through. We're going to look at the lesson that helps us to brush up on our mouse skills. Let's pretend that we're not too clever at using the mouse.
Is this a good idea for newcomers?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Let's click on the M,
Right.
as it says there.
Type M.
And it now says enter, press the enter key to continue. So it describes the use of the mouse in connection with your computer, and here you've got to type in R or L depending on if you're right or left-handed. I'm right-handed, so let's type in R.
Yep.
And now it says when you move the mouse across a surface, an arrow-shaped pointer moves across the computer screen. Let's press the enter key to continue.
Oh, that's a bit spooky.
And you can see a demonstration there. We're not actually touching that mouse. That's happening automatically within the tutorial. So you can see it's quite descriptive there.
I think it gets the point across.
I think it does get the point. Very good pun, Steve. It does get the point across.
Didn't mean that pun.
And we could obviously continue on through the tutorial, but we'll just press the escape key at this point to exit from there. So a couple of ways there for people to get help once they're within Windows in learning how to navigate around the system and also use the hardware associated with Windows.
Right.
Now, there's one other method that we could...
Goodness me, there's so many ways of doing things,
Yes,
aren't there?
well, as we've said already, there are many different ways of doing things, and you just use whichever you feel more comfortable with. Within Windows, when it was being designed, Bill Gates challenged the developers to come up with something that would encourage people to use the mouse, because he recognised instantly that the biggest challenge moving to the graphical environment was using something like a mouse.
Sure.
So the developers came up with something that was fun and yet also helped you to use the mouse, and that was a game within Windows called Solitaire.
A game.
A game. Now, I should stress at this point that obviously we're not trying to encourage people here to spend their time playing games within Windows. It is a very much a productivity tool. However, if you've never used a mouse before, it's quite a good idea just to spend perhaps 15-20 minutes playing Solitaire.
Okay.
And it really does help to coordinate your eye and hand together. And I know that many people who run training courses actually put that as part of the training course at the very beginning of the day to help people become familiar with the mouse.
Right.
So I don't know if we want to show it here or...
Oh, should we have a quick
Shall
look?
we?
Just
Yes.
a quick look.
Let's,
Will everybody have access to these games?
only if they've been installed. Now, again, this is an option within Windows. You can choose to install certain elements or not, as the case may be. So you may or may not have access to Solitaire.
Ooh.
Let's just maximise that again, shall we?
Yep.
And basically, this is called Solitaire, or some people know it as Patience.
Right.
Okay. And you can see we've got a couple of menus here. Let's perhaps choose the deck option, and we've got different card decks that we could use. Let's perhaps use this one here. Select OK.
Gone for the tropical look.
Gone for the tropical look.
Oh, that's colourful.
And if we just take a quick look here, it's not intended to spend too much time on Solitaire, but you can set up the options here for how you want the game to be played and how the cards to be drawn, etc., etc. So let's just cancel from that. And basically, the idea is that you position the aces up here, and then I can click on this card using the mouse to turn it over.
Oh.
And what you tend to find, Steve, is that people become so engrossed in playing the game. Let's just turn a card over here.
You just click on the deck?
I just click on the deck, and I'm trying to find a card that I can use here.
Right. Hours of fun for all the family.
Hours of fun for all the family, but basically people become so engrossed in the game that they forget that they're using something like a mouse, which is quite alien to them.
Oh,
so we can
nice.
pick up that ace.
Ah, you just click on the card and drag it across.
And drag it across, yes.
Fine.
So
Okay, I think we better get out of here
I
quickly.
think that's enough on that.
Encourage bad habits.
That's the
Right.
final way that perhaps you might want to learn how to use an element of Windows, which is the mouse, which is a very important part.
So perhaps it's a good idea to have it there to begin with.
Yeah, and then it will probably be removed.
Fine.
Which isn't a bad idea. And in fact, what you tend to find is that it's very much a novelty thing as well. You start to use the mouse, you become familiar with it, and you're so busy doing your work that you don't have time to play games anyway.
Right.
So.
But I'm sure at the 5:30 point, people can pull out
and
their
it's great
cards.
if you've got family, children, or whatever, you know.
Well, it should be fun as well, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and it also, with children, it does encourage them to become very familiar and comfortable with the Windows environment from a very, very young age, which is great.
Right. Okay, Card Sharks, see you in the next chapter.
Okay.
Now, this section is where we show people how they can customize the environment a little bit for themselves.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to look at some of the elements of customization here. Not every single one. We'll cover some of those later. But I think it's also important to mention that if you're working within a corporate environment, then some of this may actually be done for you already, which is obviously nice.
Saves you some time, doesn't it?
Yeah. But the thing about Windows is if you want it to be flexible and customizable, then it can be.
Okay.
And you can control that to whatever degree you need to control.
Well, show us the areas that we need to look at, Jackie.
Right. The main area would be the control panel within the main group. So we'll just double-click on Control Panel. And you can see within the Control Panel we have a number of different icons here. We're actually not going to cover all of these in detail today. Let's just talk about these very, very briefly, and then we'll go into detail. The first item here is colour, and we can customise the colour effects that we have within Windows.
Yep.
The next one that we have is fonts. Windows is shipped with a number of fonts, and we'll look at those in more detail.
The fonts that we use when we're in an application, where are they coming from?
They're coming from Windows, and they're installed within Windows, and then your applications pick them up.
So Windows is very central with a lot of things, isn't it?
Oh, very central, yes. Ports, well, this is really our gateway to the outside world, if you like. And you can see that if you set up a port, it actually allows you to specify communications for serial ports or whatever, if you're using a printer or something.
We can see down here you've got some information about what it is.
That's right. Mouse. We've already touched on that in some detail already, but you might want to set up the mouse, and again, we'll look at that in more detail later on. The desktop, already we've seen within the background, we had the Windows logo, the grey background, and we can have whatever background that we want there, and again, we'll look at that in more detail.
We can put our own up there if we like.
Yeah, we could have our own company logo, or a photograph of you, or a photograph of me.
A few holiday snaps.
I'm sure you have.
Putting up there. I'm not sure if I could do.
Then we've got the keyboard, and this basically allows you to set the click rate for the keyboard, okay, just to get it set up for how you type.
If you're a particularly fast typist, you might need to adjust it.
You might want to do that, yes. Printers, again, we'll look at those in more detail, but within Windows, you can set up printers and configure them, etc., etc. International, we will look at later, but that's for configuring your keyboard and other settings. Date and time, we'll look at that later again, but that's for your system date. Now, network is something that you will only have with Windows for Work groups.
Okay.
Key differentiator there. And obviously, if you are within a networked environment, then you'd want to set up passwords and the network configuration and things like that.
But you won't see that if you don't have the...
No, that's right.
This looks like fun.
ODBC stands for Open Database Connectivity. Very simply put, Windows is shipped with a number of ODBC drivers, and we can configure those drivers here within the control panel.
What is a driver exactly?
A driver is something that translates between in that particular case with ODBC, with a back-end database. It might be easier to describe that analogy relating to printers because most people can relate to a printer rather than a database. Let's say that I have an HP printer and I have a piece of software, Microsoft Word or Excel or whatever, that I want to be able to print out to that particular printer. I need to have something that's going to translate between my application and the printer. And that translation tool, if you like, is a driver.
Is it software or hardware?
It's software. It's software, yes. And as you said earlier, Windows is a centric point for a lot of things, and drivers is one of those things that Windows controls. And then all of your Windows applications will communicate to that hardware, be it a printer or whatever, via the driver within Windows.
So you must have the right driver set up for the piece of hardware you're using.
Yeah, I mean, in many cases, if you don't have the correct driver, then Windows will sort of choose the next best thing.
Yeah.
But you don't always get perfect results with that. So where possible, always have the correct driver for the printer or whatever.
Okay, so that one's just a driver for database connectivity.
That's right, yep.
Okay, what's this enhanced?
Okay, enhanced. Well, this is really for the technical people out there, Steve. It's basically allows you to customise Windows and perhaps to get better performance out of Windows. And I don't really think that we're going to cover it in too much detail here today.
Right.
But that's all you need to know, basically. More drivers here. This actually shows you the drivers that you currently have installed on your system. So if you wanted to go in and have a look, we could see the sort of drivers that we have set up. It relates primarily to multimedia type drivers, not printer drivers or ODBC drivers, and multimedia is something that we'll be covering later on as well.
Sure.
Okay. Fax. Again, this is something that you will only have if you're using Windows for Workgroups. One of the facilities within Windows for Workgroups is that to enable you to send faxes.
From directly from within Windows?
From within your Windows applications.
That's great.
Yeah. So, again, something that you might have if you're using Windows for Workgroups, but not standard Windows.
Right. And what's this one down here?
And then sound. Okay. Within Windows, you have a number of what we call system events. So closing a window, opening a window, exiting Windows.
Yes.
And if you have a sound card within your PC, you might want to have a particular sound happen whenever you do any of those Windows events.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to enliven the environment a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Wouldn't want to do that at work so much, would you?
No. You might get a few complaints from your neighbours at work.
Yep. Are we going to look at any of these?
Yeah, we're going to look first of all at date and time. So if we just double-click using the mouse there, we have the date and time. And basically, it's a very simple dialog box, as you can see. It's just setting the date for your computer and also the time for your computer. It is currently set to today's date, but let's just say that we wanted to set it back, perhaps. I can double-click on the number 10.
Yes.
And then using the keyboard, let's say that it's the 3rd. Just type the number 3 using the keyboard
just
there.
type the number straight in.
Or if I double-click perhaps the month, I could use this button here. These are called spinner controls.
Spinners?
Yeah, another Windows term there. Spinner controls, and I can increment or decrease the number there using those spinner controls. And exactly the same would be true for manipulating the time.
Same controls.
Yeah. So once you've got this set up, then if, for example, within a word processing document you choose to insert the date and time as a field, then this is where that information will come from. So it's important to have this set up correctly.
Yeah. Well, I know that on your motherboard in the computer you have a little clock that's carrying on, isn't it?
Oh, right, yes.
Is this related?
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so make sure this is set correctly.
So even when you turn your computer off, it still will keep track of the date and time?
It still keeps ticking over, yes.
Good.
So we can just cancel from that.
So you probably wouldn't need to go in there and change it to daylight savings or if power goes off or something?
Yes, you would.
Yep.
Yeah. OK, the next icon we'll look at here is international. Sounds very glamorous, doesn't it, international?
Yes.
Let's just...
So you can move all of these windows, can't you?
Yes, absolutely, using the blue title bar there. Now, let's first of all go to the bottom of the screen and take a look at these options. Notice here we have the opportunity to change the way that our dates are presented. Depends really which country you're working within, but for example in America they prefer to have the month and then the day, then the year. Within UK we have day, month, year. So we can select